Hi, my name is JD Dale, and I'm here to talk to you today about Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas was born in 1255 in a castle halfway between Rome and Naples to Count Ludolf and Countess Theodora. At the age of 5, he started his education at Monte Cassino. Since there was a battle at Monte Cassino, Aquinas' plans were to move to Naples for Dominican order to be a priest, but his family was very against it. His brothers captured him and imprisoned him, so he would not leave his house for 2 years. His family went as far as sending a woman to seduce him to change his mind, but he did not give in to temptation and accepted the vocation. In 1245, Aquinas moved to Paris to study with Albertus Magnus and gained the Aristotelian method. These 3 years of his life impacted how he wrote and was one of the most influential times of his life. After this time, he became well known as a philosopher, and in 1252 he went to school again to get his master's degree in Paris. After receiving his degree, he spent many years in Paris as a teacher. In 1259, he was present in Valenciennes for an entreaty of Pope Urban IV, which influenced him to move to Rome 2 years later. In 1272, Florence empowered him to find a university, and he chose Naples, and 2 years later, the Pope directed him to the Council of Lyons. Thomas became very ill and died shortly after the Caesarean Abbey. Aquinas was known for his writing about ethics and his Catholic religion, being a priest. People of many faiths followed his teachings because they were essentially for every Christian. Since the days of Aristotle, probably no one man has exercised such a powerful influence on the thinking world as St. Thomas. His authority was very great during his lifetime. The popes, the universities, the studies of his order were anxious to profit by his learning and prudence. Several of his important works were written at the request of others, and his opinion was sought by all classes. Kennedy, 2009. Aquinas' greatest work was of the art of the Summa, which really gave a full view of his beliefs. There were 3 main parts of the Summa: God, ethics, and Christ. In his writing, he explains why all 3 of these principles are the most important things in life. Aquinas taught many people, including men who wanted to be priests. Religion was very important to him and was his biggest influence in writing. St. Thomas also made a very influential piece called the Quiddic Vai, which means 5 ways, in proving that Christ does exist. The 5 reasons were motion, causation, existence of necessary and unnecessary, gradation, and ordered tendencies of nature. Another piece of literature was the sacraments. The doctrine of the sacraments follows the Christology for the sacraments, have efficiency from the incarnate world himself. End quote. The sacraments are signs which not only signify sanctification, but also affect it, that they bring spiritual gifts in sensus form, moreover, inviolable because of the sensus nature of man. Even though some of his beliefs on religion, St. Thomas, are different than the ones of the LDS, he still has a big influence on how we learn today. St. Thomas really put an emphasis on religion and why it is so important to have in our lives. Without his historic influences of Aquinas and many other religious leaders, the standing of religion may have been different and may not have been such a big impact today. Aquinas made it possible to teach religion and religious education, and was a huge sum of what, and that is a huge sum of what is being taught right now at BYU Idaho. Because of St. Thomas Aquinas, he has had a big influential on everyone who thinks that religious education is important. He dedicated his whole life to education and the importance of religion, even if his whole family shunned him for it. His writings are beautiful, and they depict why the Savior should be a main focus in life. I am thankful for St. Thomas Aquinas and for standing up for what he believed in, no matter what trials he had to go through. He has made a big impact on how people view God and religion, and without his influence, there may not have been such a big impact in learning about religion. The reason why I chose BYU Idaho, along with a majority of the students at this university, is because of its religious education. Even though St. Thomas was a Catholic, he made a huge impact on his writing, character, and his beliefs to everyone who has a religious education.